alcohol inks. I also paint with alcohol inks, but my primary medium is acrylic paints. What makes them different, what makes this different than a regular acrylic painting is I mix a pouring medium with my paint to make it fluid so that it runs. I brought paints today already pre-mixed. And when you shake them, you can hear it's liquid. I mix these to a consistency of about warm honey.
Oh.
So I put heavy-bodied acrylics in with my pouring medium that I like to use. Has anybody ever heard of Floetrol? You've done this before. Floetrol is a acrylic-based medium that your professional artists, have you ever noticed how they get these walls so nice and smooth?
Mm-hmm.
They put a little bit of this in their, that can of paint. Especially if they're spraying, if they're using any, what am I trying to think of? You know, when you spray. Anyway, they put that in there. Excuse me, allergies. So it keeps it pretty liquid. This one's about the consistency of water. I buy Floetrol by the gallon, which is about $19 to $23 a gallon. I've now been able to get it at Potter's. Thank you, they order it for me and I don't even have to pay shipping. Amazon, it tends to come all broken up. But I also use a different Floetrol that only use it for one particular technique, and it's an Australian Floetrol. So a gallon of American Floetrol, say $19. A pint of Australian Floetrol is about $50. And then you can add on, if I order it on Amazon, another $50 shipping. So I order it straight from Australia and I don't have to pay shipping. I don't know what the tariffs and custom taxes are gonna be in the future, but that I use for a particular technique, and I'll do a tad bit of that today. I do not use that Australian Floetrol for big pictures, obviously, because of the cost. So, it is 80% of your time in preparing to do a painting in this medium is preparing the paint. And then 20% actually painting. So that's why I mixed a lot up. I often have it in little tubs, or I might, if I'm going to paint right away, I'll mix it in cups or squeeze bottles, depending on what I'm going to do. Now, I love these bottles. It's a special company that makes them, Lola Beffy. I could have paint in here for 6 to 9 months, and that paint will be just fine, as long as I close the top. So they just make, but they've made ones that are harder to squeeze these days. So that being said, there are some important things that you need to have in order to do this. A canvas. Now, I say canvas, but you can paint on tile, you can paint on wood, you can paint on anything that's non-porous. This is not, would you think of a canvas as porous or non-porous?
Porous.
Non-porous?
Because the canvases you buy have anywhere from 2 to 3 coats of what's called gesso on it, which is an acrylic sealer, basically. Otherwise, it'd be plain linen, and that'd be like painting on your blouses. So, and you can get gesso in any color you want. You need things like little paper cups, plastic cups, stir sticks, because you have to stir your paints up. You might also use them to help paint. Tweezers. Who would have thought you need tweezers to paint with? But sometimes you might get a hair or gunk in your paint that comes out. You've all seen cans of paint and there's gunk in. Well, if I reach into a wet painting and do this, I've just spoiled it because my fingers are too big. But with tweezers, I can just pick it right out. So I've learned, these are lessons I've learned the hard way. You need something to cover your tables or whatever you're painting on, because it does get messy. Today, if I were at home, I'd be doing it this way, just on the table. These pans I get at Sam's Club, they're the ones you put on top of the pans on buffets. One of the reasons I'm doing this today is for Spencer, is because tomorrow he's gonna move these into his office. Like I was saying, I couldn't take them home. The other reason is the paint that runs off onto here, drips off. Put those away
before to get paint on them?
I make jewelry.
Oh, how pretty.
So little pieces of paint, big jewelry, small jewelry, necklaces, all kinds of stuff with the dried paint. And then that's got a glass corbichon on the top of it. So it's got glass there. I try not to waste paint. When I first started this, I would always mix way too much paint. In order to have, if I just squirted this in the, if this was a bottle or tube of regular acrylic paint, or even the deco art paint that you buy, if we just squirted it on the canvas and you tried to get it to move around, it's not gonna move very well because the canvas is, hear that? It's got teeth to it. You know what I mean? Okay. And so that's one of the reasons we make it fluid. But also to make it move the best is I've got a big tub of white paint here, and this is Floetrol. My mixture is 3 parts Floetrol and about that much of a varnish, and then the rest is paint. We use very little paint because you're mixing it with this. Now the neat thing about Floetrol is it's creamy. It's white, creamy color. So these colors are all dry darker because the Floetrol will dry clear. And so the dark color that this paint originally, it's lighter because of the milky whites in there now. But I use this for what they call a puddle to put in the center or cover the whole thing so that the paint will move easier. Can you see better this way?
Oh, it's fine.
Okay. So there's a couple of techniques I want to show today. There's a lot of artists out there on YouTube who are doing this, and one of the things you'll find is they do it, but they don't tell you what they're doing or how they got to where they were. I had one gentleman in one of my workshops one day. He says, "Oh, no wonder my paint won't move. Nobody told me I had to mix it," because he was just watching them take this stuff, pour it, tilt it, and that was it. Never learned about all that 80% before. This is a combination of science and art, because you learn, you can be real dedicated and make notes of everything you do, or you can just remember and learn by experience, but every paint color reacts differently with other paints, chemical reactions. Now add in a different brand. So if I use Liquitex or Master's Touch or Golden, and I use all the same color, they will all react differently with other colors than what Liquitex did with everything. So it's interesting to find out what you're gonna get. Do you know, have you anybody looked at acrylic flow poured paintings? Okay, notice those cells and that lacing you get, that's part of the chemical reaction that happens. Now using that Australian Floetrol, I can guarantee you I'm gonna get them every time. But if I don't wanna use that, I can do that by adding different colors together. You also have to take into account your color wheel. What happens if I mix yellow and blue?
Green.
Green.
Yeah.
What happens if I mix red and blue?
Purple.
Purple. Okay, so I've got green here. If I want to put it in my painting, do I want to put these two next to each other?
No, just green. Just be green.
I might want to do this, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute, because I'm going to take a cup and I'm going to layer some paint. But first, I'm going to put gloves on. I never used to bother with gloves, or I'd take them, you'll see I put them on and off and on and on. I throw away a lot of gloves because they get messy. And I try to remember to put them on again. I don't always. But with the varnish in there now, it's much harder to wash the paint off. I definitely need scrub brush on my fingernails. But you can tend to get too much paint on these and you need to take them off, or else you're dripping paint into your picture and you're like, where'd that drop come from? Oh, it's off my gloves. The other things you need to make this fun is almost anything you can think of. You can pour through a colander. You can pour through a sink drain. You can use, I'm gonna use some plastic pieces today. These are just notebook sheet dividers that I cut up. I'm gonna use them to swipe with today. Dollar General. You know, I go in there sometimes just looking for fun things. If I wanna make a pattern into the paint that I poured, this is a fun one to use. You can use your stir sticks to do that too. So it's anything that you can find. There's one lady online, if anybody wants to follow her, she's called Mixed Media Girl. And she uses all kinds of fun stuff. She's always trying to look for new things to do. So let's get started with one. Whoa, this is heavy. Now, the thing about this is when you mix the Floetrol and the paint, how do you think I mix it? Stir it, yeah. Sometimes a big tub like this, I've got a drill with a bit on it that I can use to stir with. But stirring, what happens, do you think?
Bubbles.
Air bubbles. Now you can't do a lot of this because you'll put a hard skin over the painting. But if I don't get rid of air bubbles, like if I put a dark color on top of this white and I have not gotten rid of air bubbles, all of a sudden I've got these little white pinpricks or holes of white that the canvas is showing through. So I'm just gonna move this around a little bit and cover my canvas. And I want it to go off the sides. I used to pour a ton on. Now I try and do it, and I can tell I don't have enough. It's moving pretty slow, isn't it? But that's okay. I can always put more on. Did that get to you, the torch? The popcorn did.
Popcorn.
See, even though I don't want to drip, it's already dripping. My husband was giving me a hard time one time about all the paint I had on the floor in my studio. I said, well, that's why I have all those sponge mats on the floor. I also put push pins in the bottom so I can hang on to it. And one of the things you don't want to do is have too much paint on your canvas when you're done. When this is set to dry, if I've got too much of the white and all the colors, then what will happen is it'll crack when it dries because the paint's too thick. So I'm getting bored with doing that, so I'm going to take some of this and put some of this on there. Might as well use it up, right? And then you can just take your hands and go around the edges. You want the paint on the edges because I want the color to run off. And if the paint isn't on the edges, then the color's gonna stop. That's all running down. See why I said I need to change these. And I know me, I'll spill this if I don't cover it. Okay, what should I do first? Let's do an easy swipe. A swipe is where I'm gonna take one of those plastic things and I'm gonna lay down some paint and then I'm gonna swipe a cell activator through it. The cell activator is my paint. It's either black, Amsterdam black, or Amsterdam white. You can mix it with water or you can mix it with the Australian Floetrol. Let's see.
What's that, butane?
Just just a regular old kitchen torch. And I like to line my colors up in the order that I would like to use them. Not sure if I'm gonna add the crimson or the green in yet. Okay, so this is gonna be, it looks really easy, but when you go to try it, most of the folks in the workshops go, but it does. Remind me, it's your job to remind me when I use these to close the tops. Because I tend to go and shake them and the top is still open. And I know Spencer doesn't want me to get paint all over the wall. The other thing that's important with this is the consistency of this white paint has to be the same consistency of this. Out of all the colors you can think of, what do you think is the heaviest paint?
Latex.
White. White is the heaviest paint. Yeah. So if these are too thin, they're just gonna soak down into the white. If they're too thick, it's not gonna move nicely. So I mixed them kind of quickly yesterday, so I really haven't tested them as much as I should, but I have a tendency to know when I'm stirring what consistency I want without having to do. If I was doing what they call a Dutch pour, have you seen it with the hair dryers? That's the consistency of water, and every single color, including your base, has to be the same. So I do a drip test. I'll squirt the paint on in drops and then stand it up, and they need to all run the same. Maybe one a little less or one a little more, that's okay, but if one's way up here and one's way down, then I got some work to do. This bottle's easy to squeeze. Now gold is a metallic, and it almost will always give you cells. Any metallic paint will. It's just something in the chemical.
Are you pouring those colors on top of each other?
Yes, ma'am, they're right on top of each other.
They're not side by side, they're on top.
I'm pouring them on top. Sometimes a little squirrely and they're kind of a little bit side by side, but. And a little more of this color. Okay. See, I can tell they're pretty much the right consistency, because if they weren't, I'd start getting fuzzy lines along my line, and that means it's starting to soak into the white paint. All right, all closed, torch time. I can see bubbles. How about black today? Now this is real watery, so I'm gonna have to work fast with it. If I had some more paint here, I'd probably thicken it a little bit, but I don't. You're welcome to come up and watch if you want. I should have warned you with the camera.
Oh, fine.
I'll just come from an exercise class.
See what's happening?
I see a lot of white.
Yeah, that's being caused by this stuff.
This is interesting.
It looks scaly.
Like underwater. Uh-huh.
Well, it's just a.
Looks very bubbly.
Yeah.
What's causing the bubbles, the water?
What did I say about the white paint?
It's heavy.
Okay, so the paints are settling down into the white, but some of the color's coming back up.
It kind of looks like a butterfly or like a mermaid tail.
There's a water fountain right up there. Yeah. And you take a cup and just go get.
Now I'm gonna swipe the other side with white and we'll see a difference, even though we have a white background.
Like you should.
Now, they're kind of small, aren't they? Some are getting big. But we're gonna do, one of the things about fluid paint is you want to tilt the canvas. So as we tilt it, those will get bigger.
Like I said, with the cup. And what you actually do is you have your cup sitting upright, so.
And I'm just barely running this across the top. If you get it too, if you lay it down too thick, or a lot of times I use my palette knife, it's gotta be just the right angle, or you gouge the paint, and all I do is grab white paint, and I'll have a big gob of black. That's why I find these work so well. You can also use paper towels. A damp paper towel, not wet, but damp.
Unfortunately, I gave the picture away, I wish I had kept it.
See, now that one I didn't go up far enough to pull a lot of color down, which is what I wanted to start doing, is pulling some more color down. And you can make them symmetrical and perfect in line, depending on what you wanna do with it, what your eye is seeing. So if I come up here, watch how that will start to turn. Unless I pull too much white with it, and if that's the case, I can always swipe over something again. Ooh, turning pretty spots on my shirt there, yeah. What does it say on it?
Last,
Looks good.
2 years ago, I was at a local gas station and drove to my house.
Oh, those little ones are pretty.
What made this look so different right in here?
I really didn't swipe much there,
It's good thing.
so
It
that's
pulls
really just
down
the
and
paint.
is sort of
Yeah.
attached.
It's on
I
the
kinda missed that area, but I like that,
I like
rather
it too.
than having it all,
underwater.
well,
What kind of vibe I'm getting, or why it's underwater, but it kind of looks like scales, or it looks like a giant snake.
It looks like an aquarium. The bubbles and.
with the bubbles going. I love all this that's popping up.
I do too. I noticed when you drop the black, it's not a mistake.
So that's the reason we're.
It does so.
Mm-hmm.
You ever see me out anywhere, it will always be on my hand.
Now, what would happen if I use that? I'm just gonna draw another color through it. Although the colors are sitting on top of each other, the more you, play with them,
We got one for,
they'll turn just like anything else, they'll get
Yeah,
muddy.
Calvin Cumming, he's
Yeah.
releasing one in,
Okay, so,
Yes.
get rid of these guys.
Yeah, I thought you must be Spencer, because the thing where it shows you, you got the longer hair, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. Need to update that,
That is your
And
husband
I'm
or
like, wait a minute, is that
He's a wood
Spencer or
turner.
not?
He makes beautiful pieces of art with wood. And his studio's right next to mine, so. Alright, so, now, there's a couple of things I can do. I can swipe it this way with white, which is what I was planning to do, or I can just tilt this.
Tilt it.
What do you want me to do?
Tilt it.
Tilt it? Tilt it, tilt it.
Could do both.
That's cool.
Oh,
Wow. It looks like.
Oh, it goes right back.
Yeah.
that's great.
It
It looks like sand art.
So you can just keep on tilting it till you really get the pattern you want.
Yeah, So I could at this point now, decide that I'm going to, do some more swipes in there. I don't have to do them all the way along like I did the other ones. I could come in and say, hey, I'm gonna do a little bit here. This is kind of gloppy right there.
Yeah, now it's really giving the sea like this. Okay.
We got some kind of olive going.
Let's do white.
Yeah.
This really needs stirring the flows. See, the flow trawl separated.
Oh, yes. Why is white the heaviest pink?
It just
All
chemically
colors.
is.
We
Interesting.
all have our jeans on today.
Which one has all colors?
The girl up there.
I wear jeans all the
Okay,
time,
wait.
so.
Black has all
Sunlight.
colors.
Black
Oh,
is the
black.
opposite
They're not
of,
blue, they're
black is the no color.
And then,
Oh,
oh,
black
black
is
is,
all colors make
oh,
white.
okay,
And that's why you would have the most pigment on white.
okay.
Dark blue, medium blue.
And you're
light blue.
listening to an accountant, that's never been art.
I believe you, I don't know.
I've got green coral, right?
It sounds right, that's why
I
I think
picked up
it
a little
happens.
bit of the black.
I don't have a lot of room to store things, so everything that can't put on that truck,
Oh, I didn't see it.
you know, it's up in the handicap.
Do you always go the same
So I don't
direction?
have a lot of room, so I'm having to.
No, I've gone this
Yeah.
way, gone this way. I just did this for you guys this direction, cause it gives a better chance to see more.
Just smooth, you don't have to.
This is
Wow.
just a demonstration, so basically.
They're not.
Sometimes some of my demonstrations turn out to be my best pictures.
Well, I've got a.
Yeah, look at that,
Probably the shade of the blue.
This is crimson, and this is a color called rose madder.
Oh, I thought you were
And it's a thinner, and it doesn't have this big thing.
Now, what is in the bottle is straight acrylic paint, correct?
It's acrylic paint with Floetrol. They're already mixed with the Floetrol.
They're already mixed when you buy them.
No, I mix them.
Okay, so you
I
did
buy the
it,
bottles empty.
that is the Floetrol, right?
That is paint, it's Floetrol, varnish and paint.
And white paint.
I wear my jeans all
Okay,
day.
so there's Floetrol in this.
I just call them.
But this doesn't have the varnish in it.
Yes, because, what I do first is I mix my Floetrol and varnish,
Spider-Man.
and then I pour it into what I'm going to do with the color. So this was mixed, first of all, I'll mix up a big tub of this with just Floetrol
But you
and
see,
varnish,
but you
and pour it
can't
into these
see.
bottles.
I don't.
And then I'll take a little bit of Floetrol and color and mix it real good, and then put it in and mix it all. See, doesn't it look kinda cool to do both sides?
Did you get, are you getting this one enough?
It was pretty if you'd even left it alone.
I'll look at, I'll look at it when she's
I was
done.
about, I was late in one year, and I don't know when we first get out there, most, we usually kick back some and get.
I like the white too.
Early today.
Yeah, I have to be at the.
It's bringing out a little bit more of the colors.
Outpatient center at 8:30 in the morning and I can't eat.
Well, I was kind of grabbing
Oh,
yogurt, but then we wound up taking recycled stuff. And then took a quick stop out there, 'cause I thought, well,
One more
I really
swipe.
am, I was gonna just come and see what this was.
Unfortunately, I have to have lunch, cats.
I go through a lot of people.
I bet, yeah.
That's why I loved it when they came out with the selective,
I like that too.
so I didn't have to tear off a whole thing.
Right.
Last night.
Cause most of the time I don't need that, I just
They
need,
call it lunch and learn.
See, it dries
Now
pretty
they
fast
call it
on here.
popcorn.
I don't wipe it
Looks
off.
like they got like.
But that's okay, I just, when they get too yucky, I just cut some more.
Stuff to put
That's
on
the
popcorn.
oil
Yeah,
that they put in the
Yeah.
cooker.
I thought it must be something like that, but it looked like it was popcorn. But
And I really, if I was at home, I'd actually be pouring this on here, so I'm not doing both sides.
Well, see, we have ladies that come in and they pay like a nursing
I know, everyone I've been here, but they did say in the new updates thing about it, that it was gonna be popcorn and I knew something, I didn't remember it was coffee. I never drank coffee in my whole life. Maybe, I was gonna say, but I was the only one.
I'm being good to drink.
Doesn't have to wipe these off.
How long
Different
do you
house, they
have to work
Yeah.
on it before it starts causing problem with drying?
Oh, quite a while, quite a while.
So you could do that for around an hour or so.
Yeah, I don't know that I had actually did a 6 foot by 5 foot one, finished it and went out to lunch. My husband says, what do you think? And I said, I don't like it, it's not quite what I want. And I went down and basically redid the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
I did the entire canvas like this,
Different flavors.
and then I painted on it a tree.
Big, do you have a big studio?
No, I mean, when you said that.
Pretty good
It's got some big
size.
tables and stuff.
Yeah, I've got,
I want black tea or
2
green.
8 foot tables and 2 4 foot tables, and then I've got another section set aside that is for my resin work and my alcohol inks.
Is that at the art center or at your home?
That's at my home.
Yeah, iced tea.
Usually I drink iced tea, but
Actually,
Now, when you draw lines or make patterns in this, it will, when you tilt it, it'll follow those patterns.
I think it was from when I used to drink the lemon all the time. But then, they don't have houses. But somebody
And a painting is never finished till you say it's done.
I wound up getting 6 of them because it was. That flavor forever. When we get the, they used to get them.
just push you
I thought St. John Lamb's.
go through it right.
Oh,
Right, now, I don't think that's around for that, but yeah, because it was.
You have to be patient with it.
So, my fridge is full of antique things.
Well, see, I don't have refrigeration in the camp.
You did some pretty artwork in your paint.
I can't get what I usually do. I'll buy 1 or 2 of them.
And sometimes that reminds me of feathers.
Fido?
I'll buy a
I don't know
half
why,
gallon,
but it was.
and
Yeah.
smaller ones, so I can put them in my cooler.
Well, ironically, my husband would just.
See, when she's getting massage.
Thing, and he's the one that takes the tea, everybody brings certain type of things, other people bring the food and whatever. So he had.
See, there's not a whole lot of paint on here, so they're not moving a lot, which is good.
So he does, and I had gotten a
But
couple
we're
of
not
teas.
crazy about this little
So we
spot.
had part of the gallon of tea, Ritter tea.
What do you think? Should I do something with this?
So we had those 4.
Yeah, it's off center.
Kinda looks like it got left behind, doesn't it?
And
You got
today,
to for a little while.
when we got home there,
Let's do
I'm buying part of his unsweet and the sweet. one.
Now, the next one I'm gonna do, you guys definitely wanna watch up close, cause it's
And so we
it's
got down
sneaky.
and we got rid of that container this morning. So we did recycle stuff. So now we're using the regular, some of the other ones.
Oh, that's amazing. I like the Mylar sweet tea.
That's the brand we get.
So I'll buy 2 or 3 bottles of just the your son's. And then about 4 days later, I'll go in. That's,
We get the gallon, but the Milos is what we.
see, I don't have any place to put it. I get a half gallon and then
That's the
split it
one
up.
we get now, is the orange tea from the lemonade tea. And they came out with a new one this year, and it's not lemonade, it's lemon sweet tea.
Mm, that was-
It's lemonade, not lemonade.
See, that line really changed, didn't it?
This lemonade tea is what we've got for
Really changed the pattern.
Because they didn't pay me high and they had to have all six.
And it's all in what you
This
want.
other was just a fluke thing.
What's pleasing to you. You know, it's like anytime you go look at art, it's like, oh, I like that one. You know what? But I really like that one, you know, so it's individual taste. This really changed down here. And it not only changes the pattern, you know, art should speak to you. And that's, it's like, what is it about that that I really like? That speaks, it's not just, oh, it fits my decor.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's slowly moving down.
Kind of reminding me of this a little bit. Like, what if you added more gold on there?
It's kinda hard for your abstract.
I've never seen it in any other store, It was the Milo's green one. And it's got a green tag on it, I think it is. And it's like it's a.
It isn't one of my favorite ones, but we'll see how it dries and
When it first came out, it had that marked down.
actually what I would like to do with this one,
That is the cheap
this
price.
is kinda cool. It's got much-
You get Milo's, so you said you don't get the gallon, but it's like $400.
Cause I often look at something that's like, oh, this would be the perfect background for something.
Yeah.
when you're paying $1.38,
Check out the small.
a small one,
I've got one at home that I'm going to
split up 3 ways.
use hot glue, make some patterns, and then you put the hot glue, and then you put that pattern on it. So I'm gonna try that. I haven't done that before. Gotta keep learning with it.
Sweet tea, but now it's regular.
Look, your hands get hot in the gloves, so they get harder to put on. I usually bring 2 sizes of gloves.
But the lemonade sweet tea, like I said, that was just, when we get all, I mean, that's the only one, and they have it at most of the stores. But it was on sale this last week. Excuse me. I don't know if it was like $1.99 or something. $2.69 maybe, as opposed to $4 something.
Yeah.
And that's what it was, it was like $2.69, and I got 6 of them. And the later date on it, so,
And that has,
you know, while this other guy, he had a couple there on that, and,
I always take a lot of time at home to do this.
And so I asked him, that was the only ones I had, I asked him, and he had them on the back, and he did, and he had.
We're painting a
I
tree.
don't think the video's.
We're painting a tree.
I think I wanted to do 2 on it still, it was 6, but the other 4 was a 12.
Kinda cool to do that, huh?
And
The
yet
bottom
here,
though?
and we get to the 6th in another week.
Yeah, I gotta
We
work
had
on
this
that.
other stuff still in the fridge that.
But I've got a lot of time, if I were at home, I would have plenty of time to work on this. You know, and add lots of little branches and other branches coming off of it, and then I might later add, flowers.
It felt
So you
like
said you do
flowers.
artwork, huh?
Would you ever
Yeah,
put
I-
more paint on it?
like, I don't do.
After this is dry, I don't know that I pour
I
any more
do
on it because you
earrings.
don't want it too thick.
But I don't, it's all commercial.
I saw you have the earrings, did you do those?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
I saw
not
those
those.
when I sat down, I saw
Yeah,
it.
no, not those.
See how it does start to get muddy, so you gotta watch it and not do too much. Now, I'm gonna leave this, and what I can do with it at home after it's dry, I can go back in with a brush and paint more of the tree in there. And give it some color and paint some depth to it, because I don't wanna take a whole lot of time doing that right now.
What would you paint it with?
Acrylic paint,
Not a brush?
depending on what it,
Sponge or?
no, regular paintbrush. Cause this will be dry,
Mm-hmm.
and once it's dry, you can paint on top of it. If this were dry, if I had not done that tree and this were dry, so see the tree left kind of a texture, if it would just dry the way it was, I could paint over it if I didn't like it. And if I didn't like it, I could take my spatula and scrape this all off. And I'd save the paint, it goes into what I call a dump bucket. And a dump bucket is used for the times that, you don't have enough paint around the edges to get it moving, and you can put some of this color up there, cause you don't worry about it, cause it's gonna get tilted off. Okay, now the mystery one. I am once again gonna put white on. Clean up a little bit here. Okay. And I'm going to need, where is it? Oh no. Spencer, you don't by any chance have a pair of scissors, do you?
Yeah, totally.
I just need you, oh, yeah, quick. I need to cut off the bottom of this cup. I can start on this. Once again, I'm gonna put a base down. And I can tell when this has paint and doesn't. You can smell the paint versus just Floetrol.
I would want some.
What's the percentage of varnish in the Floetrol?
There's a 30, 70, 70, 30.
I didn't know how.
So 70's the Floetrol.
And I use,
No, I don't.
Creative Inspirations,
I didn't have.
that I get it online from Michael's, cause it's a decent varnish, but it's cheap. Can you cut the bottom, about, a third of the bottom of that plastic cup off for me?
Oh, right here?
Yeah, the bottom.
Yeah, just like for here.
Yep, that sounds good.
Cause they've got something
And
around
then
there.
is that the platform?
I have a bunch of those at home and I left them on the
I
table.
don't usually go in there, but they have something I want on sale Friday morning, so. Cause I usually go.
Is your husband in classes too on the woodwork?
Not really, he'll do individual because his lathe is probably as big as his table.
There's a reason why I said he's pretty. There's a man, he makes pens and he makes,
Thank you, sir.
cutting boards, and details them a little bit.
Yeah,
I think he just got a job as a cabinet maker, but,
he makes huge things, I mean, you know, like
Yeah.
20-inch platters and bowls and that kind of stuff. Okay, can I ask you to cut one more?
Yeah, of course.
Good job.
I wanna try and get it a little more even,
I was curious how you were gonna go about that.
or maybe you can just even that a little bit too.
Sure.
Cause see, it's not gonna.
Oh, yeah.
sit.
Let her sit down, she, in case she's interested.
Now I have to open the colors again. And then the reason I'm using these colors is I want you to see the difference. We're using the same colors, but a whole different, it looks, it's like, you use same colors, where other colors will show up better than, that's cool, that'll work. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, sure.
Does that depend on the order that you put them on the
Yeah,
canvas?
yeah, it makes a big difference. Boy, I was up a creek during COVID.
Yes, did you see this?
I've changed everybody's life.
Oh, yeah.
Along, but then the hair would be rainbow, like.
Oh, like in the.
Oh, listen, there's so many times I come home and I have my hair, especially when I do the big ones. That 6'1", I mean, it went through my blouse, my bra, my sweatshirt, everything, right down to my skin. My canvas covered with tape. I've learned now, I put those two tables together and I put the canvas in the middle of it and then I pull it apart. So I can walk in between because trying to get over to work, you know what keeps getting in the page.
I noticed it back there.
Alright, I'm gonna start here.
Yeah, because of the walker, I try to stay out of the way. Robin,
Mine is a suit, how do you do?
that was my sister's middle name.
Oh, yeah?
Now you see why I'm using a cup instead of trying to tilt that whole big thing.
And none of this is flammable, that's why you can use the blowtorch.
Right. Now, my alcohol inks are flammable and I often light them on fire.
Why?
How do you do?
No, it actually changes the whole pattern of the ink. Alcohol inks are really unique.
You know, I've seen something similar to this where they do this real expensive tie-dye shirts in foreign
Oh,
countries.
yeah. Oh,
They have
yeah.
a big tub, just nothing white, and those pour ink and pour ink, it looks like nothing. And then that pattern they get out, like a tie-dye or something.
Oh, like the, I don't
Yeah,
know,
it
Marley,
just-
yeah, the,
rock and roll.
I've seen that before. Never seen it on clothing.
Then I go,
Oh, yeah,
no,
I've seen it on
it's rock and roll rock.
Yeah.
Well, it looks kinda cool down in there, but you see what's happening on the sides? It's coming out, it's bleeding out, it's actually under the paint, coming out under the
My
paint.
sister's,
It bleeds, but
we weren't doing craft shows, we were out yard sales.
so some of it's going down, it's not muddy yet, it's going down.
Bleeding out.
Yep, it's going down and
It's
bleeding out
not
under.
muddy, it's just going, it's layering.
And I put that paint around it to help it move.
That's
So when you take this up, it's gonna move.
Family, she started doing it with her, my husband
ever did cost, how much you have in per canvas on something this size?
Yeah, and I quit trying to worry about that
They're about set it out for the year now. And this summer, they've been for years and years.
because you start thinking more about the money than having the fun.
And then
Once one gets some of that out, hanging around down in there.
I used to be a cost analyst, it was the reason I was asking.
I don't know, my husband's always after class, I said, well, I made this much money, he goes, yeah, but you spent this much,
Whatever, so.
but
But you're gonna make up the difference, make us whole, okay?
the thing is, for instance, when I do the classes, I use the Deco Art bottles of paint, because I tell everybody, do not go out and buy expensive paint, like this stuff, when you're just starting, because you're gonna say, I don't like that, or I like this, or I don't like that, until you get where you like what you're doing. Then go ahead and,
It's giving jellyfish.
and see, I'm not worried about the drips so much, but if I was, I could just, oop, that glove isn't fitting real well. And the white will just swallow it right on up.
Oh,
That's how your stuff is it with paint and stuff, or what?
No, not usually.
I thought you said you do jewelry or something.
I do jewelry, but mine's all, components putting them together.
See, purple and green are opposites. That's really cool. That's jellyfish. Not good, that's me. Otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
and look over here, Brian. Oh gosh, you could lose it all. You lose all your
Or I
effort.
could bring it- or I could bring it all back, see?
Except what Rick
Well, that is very nice.
It's
Wow.
jellyfish.
Well, that is impressive.
That's a jellyfish.
So it was too much, so let's turn it around and go the other direction.
Wow.
Did you say you see?
And never even touch it.
You know what this kind of stuff looks like? It's all swirly and the way it goes together.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
lovely.
I didn't know if you knew about it, cause you're not getting to see it
Yeah,
so
no,
much.
she's got it over for me.
So what was in the other stuff that made it do the
See, I
scaly
put-
thing?
I put stuff like that.
Australian Floetrol,
Cool, oh wow.
but you see it's
I talked to other people and they have
Wow.
somebody that they know.
It's doing it in here.
that does
It's
that kind
little
of stuff.
specks. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I used to make,
And-
I used to make wall boards.
Isn't that kinda cool?
I love that.
That's
Kind of a
pretty.
universe.
This one, no, that one's given to me, and
That's
that
great.
one I bought 2 weeks ago, and I've already knocked
What time are we at,
chunk
Spencer?
out of it.
It's
want me to do one more?
12:50.
One more?
Yeah, we want you to do one more.
Yeah.
I need to see one.
I gotta go see, I
What
gotta
was
go
I
see.
saying?
How did you get into?
Alright, this will be a quick one.
But this one's hard to your.
That's right.
What do you do?
I work for the state. I
Like,
work for a, I'm a grant
I've
analyst.
run into other people and then I've been in sales, they have family or friends that
I work from home,
do
so
that.
that's why I can
You
come
know,
to
do
these
you have,
programs
do you have
sometimes.
family?
Grants
How do you
to
get
pull my
this
hair out.
to
Doesn't
go where
have
you
a
go?
sale that
I
they
dye
sell
it so it's not gray, it just pulls out.
Sales.
Alright, I'm trying to see if, yeah, see now I got that corner up on the pan.
Yeah, they just had it fun.
That one that where the
I don't really know.
push pin came out, if I didn't
Sort of a cross
put it up somehow, all the paint would run off.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that, but sort of, yeah,
When they have a sale.
No.
in certain ways.
And
Sell
this
it
one I
for you
know
at
is a
the-
little
at their
warped.
sale. That's what I was talking about.
No.
See, so what I'll do is,
Do you make your canvases or buy them?
I buy them. It's too hard to make them for me. Okay, so I'm gonna do the same thing with white again. Now, I do different color backgrounds. I do black, I do, Payne's gray, which is, Payne's gray is exactly what it sounds like, but it's a really dark, almost black. And most artists use Payne's gray instead of black. Very seldom do, does a
Cause it's a
painter mix.
neutral.
Well, it's not as harsh.
Yeah.
But Creative Inspirations, Payne's gray has this beautiful blue tint to it. And when it gets around other colors or white, it will produce all these different colors of blue that you weren't counting on. All right, what I'm gonna do first. Now I'm gonna have all these back up again. I wanna do this real quick, cause I want you to see something that's just really fun. Now, this technique, it's the old first in is last out. Last in is first out.
Yep.
So if I want a lot of this color, then I probably wanna put it first in. If I don't want a lot of that color, I probably want it
That was
last.
the one that.
Okay, so whatever I'm gonna
And it was
want a
done
lot of,
like that.
which is this color.
Yeah, I never got that actually, yeah.
Yes.
I got in Cookville Prison Quilters first started, I actually was there when they first started it, but I never did do anything.
Yeah, I gotta get up. What are you looking for, Spencer?
Oh, reference books.
Now, I can pour this down
That was
straight
my
in,
one
I
attempt.
can pour it down the
Poured
sides,
Oh,
I
And
can
that was
pour it
done
on
with a
different
cup.
sides.
And the reason
Okay.
this did that,
I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what
but
you
almost
just-
put
because
together.
you actually
You mean
have
when I'm
the cup
done?
sitting
Yeah,
here,
this one.
top open, and you lay the
Yep.
canvas on top, and then you tip it.
I like that it
And
comes
when I
later.
tipped it,
I guess it's the
slid.
weights that
That's
cause
how I
that.
got that.
But it works, it looks kinda like, almost like you're ascending from a plane.
Now that one,
Yeah.
this one will dry kind of,
But that
not
was my
really
one,
muted, but not,
that was
it'll
beautiful.
keep that,
But I don't have a picture
trying to
anymore,
think
I gave it to
that,
somebody else.
galaxy
I'm
look.
just gonna take a snapshot of it, that way I've got it, I don't have any place to hang it,
Yeah,
This,
so
see how it's
Yeah,
going down in
so
the center?
Mhm.
so yeah,
Now, if I want,
that
each,
was the only,
if I keep turning it like
And that
this
was
and pouring it,
done
when
with
I
a
dump it
different
out, it
instructor.
creates a different
it was
pattern.
done in
If
Hong
I
Kong.
pour it all on one side and make
When they were
layers, it
still
makes a different
allowing you
pattern.
to use
If
the
I do
conference
this,
room for classes.
It makes a different
And they
pattern.
don't do that anymore.
So if you, oh,
I
okay.
wanna charge.
So
Well,
this
you're
change
even
makes all the
pattering it
difference,
as
but-
you're pouring.
Mhm.
But I also took
A lot of
quilting
people
classes
don't
from
think,
her.
they don't think about the
She's-
fact that you do a lot of thinking.
Yeah,
And then you have to look at your composition, where's your movement, where's what's going on in there?
these are not things that I've done, but these are things that we will.
And that's why I looked at that one and I thought, it needs something, so we'll get a tree. And for some reason, trees sell really fast.
Yeah. Everybody likes a tree.
I wanna get that book.
Don't know why, it's the structure, I guess. Like, I think your apron's
That's
gorgeous.
Yes, 6
Friend
years
of mine
ago.
bought this.
And now I'm trying to decide, was it bought that way or did you make it that way?
No, it was bought that way,
Okay.
and then it's got paint on it.
It's got, it's got a little bit, it's sort of hard to tell what was original and what wasn't.
I mean, I've worn it enough that it's got a lot of, well, I don't know what it is. Now, the thing with that, cell activator that I used with the Floetrol, the Australian Floetrol, if I poured that in there now, it wouldn't really activate cells. It's almost like it needs to be swiped.
Just see what
If
time
I
it is.
poured it
Yeah,
in there,
just
the
remember
white
I
would
put
kind of
charge
become
on.
muted and take over.
Put my volume back up on my phone so if it.
Now, you're using several colors here,
Charge
let's
it when I get
suppose you
home.
decided you just wanted primary green
This morning I
and
thought I was gonna charge it.
white.
I didn't have to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do two colors or no?
Yes, you can do two colors, you just need a lot more of it.
Mhm.
And if you're doing this pattern,
yeah.
you would be, you know, you would be laying
Mhm.
white, green, white, green, white, green.
This is interesting.
Mhm.
Now, this will not mix unless I stirred it.
Interesting.
I could put saran wrap on and take that home and it'll stay that way for a month,
Today.
a month,
Oh,
or more.
Well, there's a cup here, somebody else.
Now, that's a lot of paint you've got in that
Yeah,
cup.
of
I don't use all of that.
I may or I may not.
Whenever she wants to fix them, I'll let her.
Maybe.
I'm guessing, I don't know.
Well, see, now what I could do is, I don't have a ton of white paint on here. So, I'll use that one on there. So I could use this as the extra amount of paint. Now, I have a choice. I can do a circle, which they call a, straight pour, or a dome. A dome. I do
Oh, I
it.
duct tape people on
Yeah, you
the.
do not- you do not dump from up here or you're all going to wear it.
Oh, okay.
So it's from,
That's half the joy of coming.
Oh, I knew it had to be fast.
Seeing something.
Oh, yeah.
and then you leave it sit for a minute, 40 seconds or so, and it starts its chemical reaction.
Wow.
Aren't those colors gorgeous?
Oh,
Great.
She does
I
like
like
that
that.
studio over there, huh?
oh, that's cool.
That's that where it is, yeah. Oh, no.
That's what I say,
Oh, that's all it
there's
is.
gotta be something to keep that cup.
Oh, look that far.
So the purpose in that cup.
Oh, look that
So
far.
if you put your cup over here.
Do you love that kind of cup?
Yes.
Well, Mom has
No,
none,
I
so
just
don't
want this
ask for
down
it.
with you. And let this sit down
I'm
there.
gonna get it for Mom.
I'm gonna go, cause I've gotta pull stuff out of it.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I just thought
Color
if I put your
copy.
cup over here, then that would set your thing.
It's
Oh,
okay,
okay.
cause there's other things in there. Thank you, though.
Like a little tornado.
Yeah, I just thought that would keep this from tipping over on you.
That blue is really nice.
Really
over
nice.
there.
Mhm.
That big old fish. I don't know.
Do you think it's a whale?
Yeah, it's a whale.
It's a whale with
See
a
what I mean
picture.
about it keeps the shape of
Oh, wow.
the pattern that you drew in?
It does, it all.
Even when it goes
Yes, that's cool.
Well, watch it elongate right there where she did the swans.
And if I don't want it too elongated, I just come back, I bring
She
it back.
condense it.
It is
Okay,
pretty.
she's
I've
gonna
been learning all the
condense
time.
it.
This is all that
This is
there
my
Yes.
favorite one right here.
See that wave right there?
Did you get to see the other ones out right too, or you gonna walk down and see
I'll
them?
walk down and,
Yeah.
no, yeah,
Yeah, you can get through here. and then-
it's okay.
I love that one.
I love
It's
this
very
dog.
nice.
They're all for sale.
Where do you sell your paintings? Like, do
I
you-
sell them at the art gallery, I sell online. Yeah, that turned out pretty cool.
Lovely.
That is.
Wow. Yeah, that's nice. That's a good one.
Now, what did I not do with that one that I haven't done with this one?
It's different.
What did you not do on that one?
Blow torch it. for
Cause it's different from that one.
That is hot.
It is.
But you see, I go over it real fast, I don't get too close. Now, if you find you have corners you wanna touch up, you just touch up the corners. How's that corner over there? Looks like red.
Now, will you leave the dots on the green down there, or will you later touch them up?
On green,
Yeah.
those, I'll leave them alone.
That's different, this one.
Yes.
Take color to it.
More white.
Well, she wanted a lot of blue, and she wanted a lot of red.
Now, if I wanted to get rid of a lot of this, I tilt it more, but it kinda adds to it.
Gives it some, yeah, some character.
Oh, be quiet.
That's like Halloween.
They're sneaking up on you.
Chelsea Dartez.
That was my one.
Oh, nice, that's cool.
Now, I will come back, normally at home on big paintings, and do this
Wow.
3 or 4 times, like every hour.
So
Oh!
you'll do, I'm sorry, say that again, you'll come back and do what?
I'll come back and do this every
Yeah.
3 or 4
That's
times.
the only one I do.
And I also, on big paintings, I will come back with this and scrape the sides down here underneath.
So it'll be good.
Well, the more paint that is dripping down, it pulls paint off the canvas.
Oh, it's got
See?
weight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not worried about the white, I just don't, for instance, I don't want that to get pulled off because it's tilted and it's
I
dripping.
heard you were the only
Which
one that
is-
had it.
A lot of things.
So, and I'll come and look and say,
A little bit on
how much is dripped over there and how much is not dripped.
You know, the red over on this other side's dripping quite a bit.
Be more patient enough.
Sure you are.
I think you gotta be real
Well, she
patient.
may usually do this.
Well, she's done 3 here, all being inside of an hour.
Like I said, it's 80% getting ready.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's even when I do large ones, I've had wrist surgery and had to get ready to do an entire 1,100 square foot gallery in a month.
Okay.
And it's like, okay, I'm out of a cast now, I gotta go to work. It's the mixing that takes the longest.
Yeah.
And picking colors, sometimes it just gives, I remember I got that particular show, and it's like, oh my gosh, how am I don't know what to pick anymore, I've done this, and I
Do it again.
just prayed,
Mhm.
took a deep breath, turned on some nice praise music, And then say, oh yeah, I like that color, I like that color. And I'll take the tubes of paint and lay them next to each other. I don't get out my color wheel, I'll just say, this is what's pleasing to my eye, what goes well together. Thank goodness it's all washable.
Well, I like your earrings.
Thank
They're
you.
very cool. You said that's like a disc of paint under a glass.
Yeah, see like
Yeah,
this
that's cool.
right here, when this dries, there's some cool
Yeah.
pieces in
I
here
can see that. That's
that would
awesome.
make some earrings.
Yeah, cool.
So it has to get good and dry, and I peel them off and stick them in, sheet protectors. And then when it's time to sit down and make a bunch of earrings,
You have the
That's
bang.
very cool.
What you think, Miss Heather?
see more and more, that's that cell activation, that's not bubbles that have happened,
Mm.
that's the cell activation of that white coming up, because of the way it was poured on there.
And they're coming up on the other
Like
end
that
too.
looks, that looks like hair.
Yep. And they're coming up on the edges,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
see it on the sides.
Those are pretty here on this side.
Yeah, this side's real pretty, you've got more of the red on that side.
Oh, yeah.
So then the hardest part comes after they're dried, I varnish them, because acrylic paint dries flat, so does the Floetrol, so I varnish them to bring the shine back.
Ah,
And then it's deciding which way to hang them.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, it's very different.
Which
yeah.
one, you know, like, this one will be easy, this one will be like, And I'd probably hang it this way, cause it's got that movement of that. You know. This one will be more difficult. But I walk around, and the other thing when I'm doing, especially a larger painting, I have to stop and walk around it and keep looking and walk away. Cause we tend to, even in my workshops, I'll come up to somebody and stop. Just walk, stand back, get back. Because you start overworking it to the
Right.
point that it's like, it looks so good, now look at it. Like I turned that corner to mud. And I did print these if anybody's interested.
How big are the pictures, various?
What pictures?
Aren't you making a picture or something?
I mean, when I do a workshop,
Yeah.
I don't need that.
Yeah, we'll
I'll
take-
just
we'll go.
share.
I do 11 by 14 canvases.
Okay.
So these are, 10 by 20s. Oh yeah, that's acrylic pouring.
Right.
Thanks for
Have to
being
work
here.
it out.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Beautiful, beautiful, fabulous job.
I'm going to first of all close
You
my
did a
tongue.
great job.
Yeah, that was-
Thank you.
And everybody have a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Yes, happy
Happy
Thanksgiving and Merry
Thanksgiving.
Christmas, everybody.